Prophet of God by Chris Cooper, Chapter 8. A four-wheeler squealed by, the young driver hollering as Jesse and Trevin followed Jerry into the tall doors of the barn propped wide open. Having made their way along grasping stalks of grass, caught up in the embrace of the warm summer night's air, the guys were busy batting away gnats. Jerry marched ahead, disappearing into yet another bustling crowd inside of the barn, filled with as much music as it was with people. String lights hung across the syrup-colored wood of the interior, and it wasn't long before Jesse and Trevin began to notice how formally dressed, however disheveled and dramatically differently styled, everyone was, and not the casual assortment they'd grown used to in the night at the wreck. Young men and young women mingled, some exchanging awkward laughs, others clobbering across the floor marked up by dirt. Girls snickered here and there, dragging their friends with them in a disorderly clamor. The whole place smelled like cheap spray-on cologne and anxiety, with a drifting whisper of alcohol. Jesse caught the glimpse of some random guys standing at one end of the barn, up against a broad bar, and returned a judgmental stare. "Where the fuck are we?" Trevin asked out loud, trying to heave his words over the obnoxiousness about. It began to dawn on the pair of friends just how young every face they saw appeared to them. The kids in the barn erupted in cheers as a loudspeaker suddenly shook the room with the voice of a cheeky DJ, of the talent and quality you'd find at a Midwest roller rink, maybe. The lights took to shifting, and relative darkness descended, accompanied by colorful bursts of cheap lighting. The rhythm sped up and the beat dropped. "Dude, I don't know if I'm tripping, but..." Jesse leaned toward Trevin. "What y'all think of my new drip?" A new person slid up to the two from across the floor, batting them both to attention. The person was wearing a dark jacket covered in graphic patches, while underneath was a tank top, suspenders, and they wore tightly fitting torn-up jeans, kicking tall, black-laced boots. The person's hair bounced in rather long locks, just as the colored lights revealed glittering jewelry on the neck and across the cleavage of them. They bowed with a wide-brimmed black hat, grinning, before finally laying eyes on the startled pair. Do we know you?" Jesse smirked. Jesse turned from the grinning person to see Trevin had fallen back, tripping over some stools. "Fuck." The person's expression fell, disappointed. Jesse hurriedly met Trevin on the barn floor. "You good, Trev?" "Well, this is awkward," the stranger said. "Dude, what the fuck? What's going on? And where's Jerry?" said Jesse. "What do I do in this scenario?" The person stroked their chin. "I didn't expect that reaction. I hate this Christmas Carol bullshit." They rolled their eyes. Trevin was trembling in the midst of Jesse's arms. "What the fuck are you supposed to do with two at once, though?" The stranger kept lamenting to themselves, looking up as if pondering. Hey, are you okay?" Jesse held Trevin. Trevin wiped his eyes and finally looked up. It's the guy, remember?" Jesse switched between his friend and the stranger. "Gin, it's gin." Trevin shuddered. "Dude, I didn't even know you drank that shit," sighed Jesse. "You okay?" "Aha!" Gin snapped their fingers finally. Jesse started towards Gin, letting Trevin back up. "Listen, bro, we've probably got to head out. Trev is..." "Where?" Gin asked. "What? Where is Trevin?" Jesse looked back to an empty floor. What the fuck? He swung himself back and forth. Hey. A girl's voice suddenly struck Jesse from behind. He looked. Jin was gone, as was with Trevin. Disappeared into thin air. There was now a girl with a shiny blue dress, with laced high heels, standing a few feet away from him where Jin had just been. She curled a lock of her hair behind one ear and swayed a bit, awaiting an answer. Jesse's face contorted as he shook his head, driving his fingers into his eyelids. He looked down, and his outfit had changed to a mediocre tuxedo. He lurched up with his hands and felt his own shoulders, running them along the paper-like creases of the cheap suit, and then down his own face. Who are you? He finally answered the girl. Some other girls were huddled at a distance away. They reactively giggled as the girl responded, "What?" Her expression sank. Jesse slowly drew his hand over his mouth. He could feel his heartbeat moving in the uncomfortably tight and itchy collar and the tie around his neck. Here, I was maybe wondering if you wanted to dance, asked the girl, stretching out her arm. I'm dreaming. I must be fucking dreaming, Jesse reasoned to himself. The girl laughed. Aw, that's so sweet. Who were you talking about, Jess? The crowd in the barn began hollering as the DJ made a shift into a slower tone, and the voices of the room shifted into a murmur and scuffing shoes. Some bros began firing whistles and hooting from another end of the barn where the lights stretched to the furthest before dissipating. If you've got a special someone, go ahead and bring them out on the floor, would you? The DJ announced over the speakers with all the enthusiasm of a DMV clerk. Jesse and the girls swung with each other amongst other pairs on a largely open dance floor. Jesse delicately settled his hands onto the girl's hips, and eventually she folded her head into his neck. He could feel the coarse texture of her fruity-smelling hair against his cheek. As he focused on just gliding with the rhythm, waiting, he'd figured, for whatever this was he was caught in to wear off. Maintaining a steady sway, he began to notice a guy standing far away, dressed in a baby blue tux with a bow tie. The curls on his head appeared damp like a wet poodle with styling gel. The boy just stood under the dim barn lights, glaring at Jesse and this girl swinging the song away. With each circuit, Jesse found his fixation increasing on this random person, and their appearance began to clear. It was Trevin? He watched as Trevin's frown increased, and soon he began to appear to whimper, his face folded into his palms. Jesse's half-hearted grasp on the girl he was dancing with loosened as he watched Trevin strangely lift a chair and drag it over one of the bars across the floor, toward one of the bars across the floor. Trev, what the fuck is he doing? Jesse pondered out loud. The girl's voice was muffled by his shoulder. Jesse twisted his neck against the dance to maintain his stare toward the back corner of the barn. It was then that Trevin took one of his legs and stepped up onto the chair he dragged over, reaching for something in the air. It was a cord or wire which dangled from the darkness of the ceiling above, swaying from one of the barn's trusses. Trevin began to tug at it. What the fuck? Jesse whispered. Well, you better go get him. A bone-rattling voice suddenly croaked, shocking Jesse's shoulder. He reeled back in horror and threw the girl off of him to reveal a face lit up by the hue of red, and a gleaming chrome smile set between long curtains of black hair, and practically holes for eyes. Jesse gasped and threw the person off him in terror. He tripped and started toward the corner of the room where he saw Trevin busy, now tying the cord around his neck. "Trevin!" he shouted desperately and launched toward the person. Before he could get to him, though, the chair fell from beneath the boy's feet as he kicked it back with his heel, suspending him midair. "Fuck, no, what the fuck, no!" Jesse wailed. He grappled the boy's dangling legs, groaning, as the surroundings melted from his mind. Every other thing was irrelevant. Tears began swelling in Jesse's eyes when he began to hear disembodied cackling all around him now. Then he shot his gaze upward. The same menacing smile was glaring down at him through the darkness above, and long strands of hair collapsed from either side of the face, lying directly over the chest of the boy, of what had been the boy, such that the chin lay flat and the glare straight down, except this time one eye of glowing blue and one of red. Jesse didn't know what to do except collapse, releasing the legs and then curling into the fetal position on the floor. "Jess." A voice like a ringing came up from the surface. "Jess, you good? Wake up." Jesse's eyes cracked open to reveal bright fluorescent lights above him. He bobbled his head until he came to. There was Trevin, sitting adjacent to him on a wooden bench inside of a locker room now. Jesse's back cracked as he began sitting up. He and Trevin were only in damp towels. "Bro, what the fuck is going on?" Jesse buried his face into his palms, moaning. "As far as I know, you passed out like half an hour ago. I've been waiting for you to get up," Trevin said. "I'm so glad to see you, Trev. You have no idea, I'm so fucking glad to see you," Jesse sighed, hugging him. "I know, it's been fucked up." "I had the worst fucking nightmare," Jesse confessed. "Really? What was it?" asked Trevin with heartfelt concern. "We were at this fucking party thing at a barn, and no way." "So did I. Yeah, at the barn?" Trevin jumped. Jesse paused, staring into Trevin's eyes. "What?" "You and I were standing there, and this weird guy came up, and that's when I woke up." Jesse froze and looked down at his palms. "Wait, where the fuck are we?" He stood up. "I don't know, we're in some locker room." "Wait, what?" Jesse backed up a bit, knocking an arm against the steel of a locker nearby. "Yeah, I was kind of hoping you would know," Trevin said. "Yeah, fuck that, bro. This has got to be drugs or some shit. We're tripping mad." Jesse panicked, his towel nearly climbing down his legs, twirling in circles with both hands over his head. "Bro, did we take something? I can't even fucking remember." I don't know. I figured maybe we had a lot of work, and we were just waiting for the showers or something and just slept," Trevin proposed. Trevin picked himself up off the bench to meet Jesse and held his side. "Shh, it's gonna be okay. I don't know. Some laughter then crawled from the inside of the tiled shower area up ahead. The guys routed, backing up toward a wall of lockers together, and peered over, waiting. It was Troy, along with a troop of other young guys. They were cracking jokes and slapping each other's arms and asses. They poured into the dressing room together. "Tea?" Jesse said, stepping forward a bit. Troy raised an arm to apply some deodorant and then looked around briefly as the others began tearing open the steel faces of their lockers, jostling fresh clothes. "Tea!" Jesse shouted from the other side of the carpeted room. "What happened to his hair?" Shh. Here he comes. One of the guys accompanying Troy spun his hand in the air. The boys abruptly submerged their hollering into a whisper. Small taps could be heard coming out from the showering area. Pretty soon, one last boy emerged. A bath towel clung to his bony waist. He kept his soaked hair down, making a kind of curtain over his eyes, and hastily approached a locker with clicking toes. He was so thin his ribs could be seen jutting through his pale skin, and only patchy, stringy hairs popped from either side of his face. Some of the other guys glanced over at the boy, exchanging snickers like playing cards between them. Bro looks like a fucking dinosaur, one of the other boys finally cracked, met with laughter. Troy drew an obnoxious screeching noise from his throat. The boy, who was the subject of their torment, simply continued to get dressed. "Who is that, Jess?" Trevin whispered. "I," started Jesse. "Marty?" He squinted. "Hey, so do you ever fuck in your costume?" Troy turned to the boy, unfurling his t-shirt. He didn't respond. "Why you want to know, you fucking faggot?" one of the other boys teased Troy from behind. The shudder of a firecracker thundered across the room as one of the boys smacked the side of the thin one's torso with a damp towel out of nowhere, causing him to let out a whimper. "Hey, don't do that. He probably likes it. You'll give him a boner," another one of them joked. "Fuck you," Marty snorted, seething, barely holding himself up with his thin arms. Some of the others howled. "What's that, faggot?" Troy knelt down, his torso towering over Marty. He seized his own towel, spun it into a noodle, and whipped him. The boy crumpled like a wad of paper onto the floor. Troy began repeating the scourge a couple times to the cheers of the others. Hey, Trevin yelped. I normally don't like popping in on these things, but... Another distinct voice appeared out of thin air from beside Trevin and Jesse. They both turned and jumped. Jin suddenly appeared next to them. "What the fuck?" Jesse said. "Look," Jin said, pointing at Troy. Jesse and Trevin looked on as blows from Troy's towel clobbered across the pale skin of the boy. Marks of red and swelling began to appear across Troy's back, too, at the same moment of every strike. "They can't hear us?" "Homie, they can't even hear the creator of the universe inside of them. How they gonna hear you?" Jin retorted, puffing a cigar whose smoke merely added to the steamy room. "So this is clearly a dream, since you just popped out of nowhere," Trevin spoke. "Well, for some it's a dream," Jin shrugged. "For others, it's as real as a nightmare." All right, make them stop. Hey, Jesse shouted again, beginning to approach the crowd. "He did make them stop," Jin said. "I don't understand. What's the point of this?" Trevin demanded. "Hey, guys, enough." Jesse stepped into the others surrounding the boy, who now lay curled up on the floor and just trembling. Suddenly, everyone in the locker room disappeared, going up like smoke, except for Jin, Trevin, Jesse, and the victim, left shivering on the floor. Jesse just looked down. "Are you okay?" The boy finally untucked his face from beneath his arm. His torso was quivering. With damp hair and reddened eyes, he glared up at Jesse's face and into his eyes, and he said nothing. "Who is he?" Trevin asked. "To God, another beautiful child. To everyone else, a lesson. Wasn't he?" Jin said, uncharacteristically somberly. Jesse started to tear up and sniffled. The boy then wiped his face and silently sat up on the bench to resume dressing, still trembling. "I don't understand. Why are you doing this?" Jesse demanded. Can he see us?" Trevin turned to Jin. Jin tossed their hands up. "Look, I only use what I find," they continued. "You're doing this, actually, not me. There is no me, come to think of it. Not in the same way there's a you." "Who is he?" demanded Trevin. "That?" Jin pointed. "That's just an impression." "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "Who you're looking at is already with the Lord, in absolute bliss and painlessness. What you're looking at is, how do I say, like when there's footprints in the snow," Jen explained, snapping their fingers. "His name was Marty." Jesse began opening up. "He was this kid we went to school with." Trevin looked at Jesse as he continued. "Marty was fucking weird. He'd run around the hallways at school sometimes for no reason, and was just cringe. He sometimes tried coming into school wearing some weird fucking outfit, but would always get in trouble with the staff. It was like a fox costume or something. Sometimes he'd show up with just the tail on, and we'd all laugh at him," Jesse recounted. Marty glanced up at Troy in total silence, sliding on a shirt as he did. "What happened to him?" Trevin asked. Jesse hesitated, biting his lip. He didn't make it to graduation." He paused. "There were rumors, but I guess Marty wound up killing himself. Nobody liked him. He had like no friends and got made fun of a lot. Troy was pretty shitty to him. I tried to get him to stop. I even brought it up with Coach. After hearing about what happened, Troy skipped like 2 weeks. He felt like it was his fault. He never got over how he treated him." Trevin just sighed. "You did what you could, Jesse," Jen assured him. "He was one I really didn't want to do." Trevin's expression collapsed. "What?" He turned over toward Jin. The guys began staring, including Marty. "What?" Jin said. "Didn't I go over this shit with y'all?" "Alright, what the fuck are you?" Jesse ordered. "Why am I in a fucking towel? What the fuck is going on?" "It's starting to wear off. Shit," Jin lamented, burying their striking eyes against the tip of their cigar. If I tell you, you promise not to freak out." "Bro, what?" Jesse drew out his hands. "First off, fine. I get it about the scenery." Jin snapped their fingers. In less than a blink, the steamy shower room appeared to vomit billows of haze, and the three of them were caught in a totally different environment. Their feet sank into mush below, and a somber fog drifted along some reeds all around as ubiquitous peepers chirped. The light had melted away. The stench of swamp rot filled the air, and an occasional owl could be heard in the distance. The moon shone, pouring generous streams of silver light into the open soil. Jesse and Trevin found themselves fully clothed again, somehow, now standing in the middle of nowhere. "There, I needed a smoke anyway." Jen reignited their cigar. A small blue flame appeared in the middle of their palm, casting over their forehead to illuminate their interesting face tattoos. "Not even fucking shocked anymore, honestly." Jesse threw his hands up till they landed on his sides. Trevin traced the canopy above with his eyes. Some weeping willows swayed around the trio. "Good." Jin blew the burning end of their smoke, causing a pulse of ember. So, Trevin insinuated. Yeah, so I guess I'll cut to the chase. I'm Death. Or I should say, I appear to y'all as Death. Usually. Jin trailed. Death? What the fuck? What do you mean? Jesse asked. Like, the Grim Reaper. I'm Death. Well, one of them, sorta. I'm a crosser? I don't know how I'd put that, honestly. Jesse and Trevin turned toward each other. Anyway, that's details. It's not necessary, added Jin. So wait, like we're not just tripping balls, we're fucking dead? The words tumbled from between Jesse's increasing breath. Wait, Trevin interrupted. We met you by the mulch thing, right? Jin, right? Hang on. Let me break this down. Jin sat in midair, squaring off one of their knees. Forgive me, I'm kinda new. You're not what you'd call dead yet. Yet? Right, Jin said, pointing their index finger into the air. You know the cliche when people say that they saw their life flash before their eyes kind of thing? Yeah? Jesse and Trevin nodded. Jin snapped. That's me. So we're dying? Offered Trevin. Jin chuckled. Well, you're always dying, or you wouldn't be alive to begin with. They're actually the same, death and life. You don't have life as if to own it. You are life. You see? What? I don't have time to go into all that, though, Jin stopped. You're definitely in trouble. I'll put it that way. Wait, not like that. You're actually in deep shit. What do you mean? Trevin drew closer to Jesse. This, Jin coughed. Church is in trouble, they answered. The tabernacle? Trevin said. Yes, they're approaching something they should not. Getting into some trouble with the big guy, or lady, or whichever the one. How so? That's probably why everything is kind of screwed up. Actually, why you're able to pop in and out like this. You see, normally you guys would have merged into the current already, but there's a space here. There shouldn't be a space here, Jin said. This is like making absolutely no sense, Jesse said. What's that? Asked Jin. Like, is this just a super lucid dream? Where are we? Where? Yeah, you're here now. Bro. Shit, my bad. You're right. I've got to work on communication, Jin said. We have been here. We have been since y'all popped up anyway. What you mean is, where are you right now, right? Your time? Jin presented air quotes repeatedly. Jesse just tished. Right. That's what's fucked up. You are actually here with me currently. You ain't just having some out-of-body experience or whatever, if that's what you're getting at. I'm all tangled in this as much as you are. Anyway, is... The guys laid their blank stare on Jin as their long black hair became crowned with a whirl of cigar smoke, the three of them making a kind of triangle. You're not at the church, currently. That's why this is fucked up. And the fabric is getting rolled up. Not supposed to do that. This is like when those alien abductions happen. You're actually still dragging that skin suit here with me. Yeah. Not how this is supposed to go. Wait. So, is this goofy shit just happening to us? Like me and Trev? Jesse interjected. I don't really know, Jin pondered. Y'all are just my assignment. I took it up because they kicked me this way anyway, so... See, that's what I don't get. You're like a fucking ghost or an angel. You said death? Trevin inquired. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I'm not like an angel, or that is what y'all would call an angel. I'm not that thing. But there are many of you? Absolutely. We're legion. Trevin and Jesse looked at each other as Jin's eyes bounced across their frozen faces. That was a pun. Never mind. Y'all should read your Bible more. Well, is there time to ask more? Jesse became curious. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Shoot. I can stretch it. Sorta. I mean, I can disrupt it. That is, said Jin. Do you know about what's going on with Troy and Brandon? Like, why are we just caught up in this whole thing you're talking about? Jesse asked. The fuck is happening, dude? Trevin whispered to himself. Jin scratched their head. So, the reason this is happening for y'all, and I'm able to sit here and explain it to you, and you're not eating your own faces off and dragging around chains, for example, is because you two have something on your side, so to speak. I don't know, but I'd guess others do too, Jin expanded. Say more, Jesse insisted. Someone somewhere is either praying for you or channeling you or in some way interceding. So-called tugging on the cord. Yo, Trevin snapped. What? Jesse said. My grandma always talked about that. Like they were Catholic, and she always said that our dead relatives can intercede or whatever for us. She prayed the rosary like every day. Jesse began pacing around, gripping his forehead and drawing strokes with his fingers. There's just some kind of interference, basically, Jin continued. With the way you're going? That's all I've got. Are you good, Jess? Trevin said, turning to look. Jesse was shivering. He began to drift away from the group. Yeah, man, it's just a lot. So why is the church in trouble? I don't get it. Why the fuck are we in a swamp talking to some rando? Jesse asked. Oh my god. Jin slid their palm over their face. Let's say there's a place some in the church are going they shouldn't go, or already are and ought not be. It's what's pretty much causing all these waves. Jin flicked their wrists across the air. Why can't you just give us a fucking straight answer? Snapped Jesse. What are we, dead? Jin sighed. Can you show me the angle of a circle? We're only slightly less subject to the course as you are, buddy. Here we go. Listen up. They interrupted themselves. We must be getting closer to your answer, Jesse. Jin suddenly looked ahead into the obscure dark distance. Jesse and Trevin swiveled their heads following Jin's prompt. The sound of crunching leaves and snapping twigs began to approach. From the midst, a little girl appeared. Galilee? Jesse flinched. Jin reached over and touched Jesse's arm. No, shh. The little girl walking wistfully toward them all suddenly stopped in the middle of the group before Jin. This ground is icky, her little voice echoed, sounding as if submerged underwater. I know it is. Jin brushed the side of the little girl's hair away. Jin and Trevin exchanged terrified glances. So did they find him? The little girl asked. Jin sighed. Yes, they did. It worked, baby. Find what? Trevin shook, driving back his shoulders, stepping a little closer to Jesse. The little girl turned to Trevin, crinkling her face. Angrily. The horrible man, she stomped. Trevin's hand came over his mouth. The little girl stretched out her arm in a certain direction and then turned back to face Jin. Yes, darling Patricia, I already told you that's where he is, okay? Good, because they don't want him to hurt anybody else, said the little girl, Patricia. Why is your jacket all torn up there? The little girl grabbed a handful of Jin's tattered jacket at the bottom seam where it was shredded to ribbons for some reason. Jin looked down and then back up and said to her, Honey, that's from the ones who grabbed me when I dropped them off somewhere they don't want to be. They throw a real fit. Like he did. What? Jesse hissed to himself. The little girl then darted her gaze toward Jesse. That man was very mean. He would always want to wrestle with me, and I kept saying no, and he wouldn't stop. She frowned. He can't do anything else anymore, okay, sweetie? Jen assured her. Yeah, said the little girl bashfully. But don't call me that anymore, okay? Call you what, dear? Jen asked. Patricia, don't call me that. I'm Trisha. You got it? She declared. Trevin couldn't let his face from underneath his hands when the little girl suddenly fell into Jin with a hug before dissipating into thin air before their very eyes. Getting a lot of answers, aren't we, Jess? Jin looked over to find Jessie frozen with a gaping mouth, and then got up to a spot in the middle of the ground up ahead. Jin started sifting through the brush between puffs of cigar smoke under the light of the full moon. After a second, Jin rolled up a sleeve and dove their arm clear into the wet earth and yanked up what looked like a long stick. It was a femur. Jin chuckled to themselves and then tossed the soggy bone in Jesse's direction. Charles, oh Charles, Jin sang. This is fucking unreal, Jesse gasped. No, it's quite real, Jess, Jin declared. You remember that spot you and your friends found? The hobo camp at Luke's? Jesse tried recalling. Charles was Pastor Lee's brother, the first one. So I guess that'd make him the current one, Adam Lee's uncle. Jin reached again into the soft dirt until revealing a large clump of mud in their hand, making a suction noise as they drew it upward. Brushing the clump off gradually, Jin continued. Charles helped set up the fellowship, and it got pretty locally adored. He had a real knack with the kids, so the church assigned him the head of the youth ministry. Sadly, too many rounds the star went by, and strange marks on some of the kids began appearing. Charles was reported, but the investigation was stalled because of, well, this world's god, y'all call money. The truth will set you free, but lies are expensive. Anyway, Chucky, or I guess whatever was left of him, floats around here still, trying to latch onto some who arrive, to get an anchor and stay. Still insists on that annoying gibberish fluttering his fucking tongue. Jin went on to remove some final bits of soil from what was evidently a human skull. He began juggling it in the air like a basketball before tossing it aside, letting it tumble along the forest floor. Little Patricia was one of those kids, and as soon as Pastor Lee began to really head off the ground, they knew they had to purchase her silence, otherwise the church would be in big trouble. So this young woman, much later, approached me, and I was permitted to take it into our own hands, myself floating around here for quite some time. Anyway, bringing old Charlie to the eater of all things, a little early. He'd gathered sufficient debt to collect, so I took it up, and we took him across the not-so-rainbow bridge with some help. I knew her as my summoner, but you'd probably know her as Aunt. Oh my God, Jesse gasped. Oh, that's just the start, my friends, Jin recalled. Plenty of tasty grubs underneath this fucking rock.